Welcome back to the MMG Yachts podcast. Axel Stein with me today. Esteban and Chris, which you guys have already met.
We're back.
What's happening? We're
Told
back.
you we'd be back.
All right, so today we wanted to talk to you guys about the Sportfish Yachts and the Sportfish market. I have my two fishiest guys in the firm here today with us today. What do you mean? You guys are tournament winners. This guy
A diver.
slays fish
Tournament wishers.
with a pole and with a line too. All right, let's just jump right into it. I'll just go ahead and ask you guys, like, how would you describe a Sportfish yacht?
Sportfish yacht. I would say on its face, it's a convertible style boat, specifically with an open cockpit. It's got to be fast. It's got to be decently efficient. And for the most part, it's got to be able to weather just about anything you put in front of it.
It's made to handle heavier seas. The cockpit outriggers. Outriggers is a huge thing. You don't see motor yachts with outriggers. A couple. Outriggers designed to fish. The technology is built into it to fish, track fish. We got sonar now. You know, you don't see those on motor yachts.
Yeah. Didn't they make like a hybrid once? A Viking hybrid, like motor yacht /
Yeah.
Sportfish in the back? That was,
I don't think they sold.
I guess it's in its simplest term, it's a yacht to target fish.
fishing.
That's it.
Gotcha.
Sport fishing in specific.
And to the people who don't know, are there different styles of Sportfish yachts? Just convertibles or?
I mean, if you want to go into the express,
Yeah.
enclosed, yeah, there is. But for the most part, the whole design is typically the same. It's just about the finishes that encompass the rest of the boat.
Low gunnels towards the back. Once you get to the cockpit, you know, like a pretty good freeboard in the front. You know, they're
Yeah, they usually start up here and end down
yeah.
here.
You know, everything in the back of the cockpit has to be, you know, waist height, so you can actually reach over, gaff a fish, wire a fish. They tend to have a tuna door. You know, no real dive platform, nothing like that. No toys, nothing really in the way.
I guess the other, main factor in these boats is the speed, right? These things usually cruise, 30 knots, 35 knots, which is faster than pretty much any other production boat or boat you see out on the water.
Nowadays, I think your typical
that's-
Sportfish
that's
yacht
a
is slow
cruise.
cruise. Yeah, now you're
35?
30,
Yeah.
yeah, about 35 knot cruise. Even the older boats that they're starting to repower, that's kind of like the sweet spot they're looking for. Unless it's like a charter operation.
These 35 is slow cruise. That's pretty decent.
No, I'm saying 30 knot cruise at one point is considered
yeah, yeah.
slow.
A 28 knot cruise used to be fast. Now that's painfully slow. Look at the old Vikings, the old 61. They threw those 2000s in there. That boat was topping out at like 42 knots back 2001,
Funny,
2002.
They built those with some of the smaller cats too. It was like a lobster boat. I think it topped out at 26 knots.
Yeah, but then they threw the MTUs in there by 2,000 horsepower. So.
The technology, they're getting lighter. The motors are getting also lighter and more powerful. So I guess, and the technology and the props and the rudders and everything on
The
the
running
bottom of
gear,
the boat is
the running gear is totally changed. It's not just a shaft.
Things
It's
are
some
flying.
bearings.
They did 45 knots wide open. 50 knots, some of them.
it's the best way to burn 200 gallons an hour.
220.
At least you'll
220.
smile when you're doing it.
220,
Yeah.
230. It's all good.
There's nothing like that.
So in the Sportfish world, there's a big battle, right, between what some call production boats and custom boats. There's a little bit of an overlap in the two, but I think amongst the fishermen, it's the big question: what's better, a production boat or a custom boat? What's your take, Jay?
I'm not going to have an honest, I can't tell you one's better than the other. I do think that some fit other people's needs and others fit other people's needs. I'm kind of an art guy, so I like the whole custom side of things. The fact that it's one of one, hand-laid wood, it's a cold molded design. I just don't think it's craftsmanship that's a little bit of like a dying breed at this point, but it's, to me, still the prettiest thing you'll ever see on the water.
They're definitely pretty.
For sure.
Like, you could tell a custom boat from a
You can tell from a mile away.
Mile
The
away.
line is so much better. It's like a real, okay, so like, perfect example, we're talking about sport, these are, you get your production boat, your Viking. You put it up against your custom boat, your F&S or your Bayliss. One's that Porsche that they're pushing out a bunch of them, but that 911 runs amazing. You can put it up against that 101. Like, yes, it's gonna, but the production has more service centers. It's a total different fit for what you want. It's going to be a much bigger boat interior wise. You're going to be able to handle more crew, more guests. I've been fortunate enough to run a few of them and fish a few of them. You can put more people in a Viking comfortably than you can, let's say, similar size custom boat. There's no interior headroom. You go into the doors are tight, rooms are tight, bunks are tight. The Viking has a little more space.
Yeah.
They just do a little bit more with the real estate.
Yeah, they do a little more with the real estate, make it a little more.
Wood.
But then when you come to the ride, the custom boat does have a better ride. It's quieter. It's a much softer entry. Most of the production boats do pound a little bit. You do hear them shudder. Where the water breaks, they're a little wetter. It's just a whole bunch of things. Different station wagon effects. Things people know nobody really thinks and puts in. But then it's all towards what you want to do, or so what fits you. If you're willing to have something totally custom to you, fine. But if you need to be able to get it parts and fixed and done tomorrow, production boat might be your better bet.
You also have lead time. Building a custom boat nowadays, nothing less than more or less 5 years. If you want to give it an average.
You can get crazy how long it takes. It takes the same amount of time to build a 70-foot Sportfish custom than a fetch ship.
And what's crazy is it takes. They're all hand laid. Like, I went to the F&S factory. It was really cool. I did not expect it was literally plank by plank, hand laid by talented carpenters, and it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. One of the prettiest riding boats. Every fit, every finish, every edge was perfect.
Yeah.
But if it takes 5 years to build, with how technology and things are advancing, you might take delivery of your boat and those motors might be, kind of towards the last, or your electronics package might be on the way out.
Exactly.
That's what's really scary about taking so long. You get your Viking within a year. That's really the only player now in the production boats.
Really. And Hatteras building those GTs.
Hatteras
really
does
pretty
build those
boats.
GTs, but not at the volume that Viking does.
I would say Viking has like a 90% monopoly in the U.S. market of Sportfish, of production Sportfish boats, right?
And they have such a wide range of sizes. You
They're
can go from a
huge.
48 to a 90.
38.
38.
I'm talking actual convertible boat. The Billfish is still like an
That's a
style.
cute little boat, though.
It is. No, it really is. It's the old ocean hole.
Yeah, and then you can get to the 90, which 90 waterline, but that used to be the 92. It's as wide as the 92.
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Enormous.
Well, they went. You know why they went from 92 to 90?
Yeah, the EPA regulations and trying.
Yeah,
to
they had to make sure it was under 24-meter load line for it to not have to deal with tier 3 and all that. So
it's crazy.
So it can keep stuff in those M96s in there and not have to put that big particulate filter.
What is it? Like a DEF filter, like your diesel truck. Right.
The thing you're out of fluid with all the time.
I'm out of DEF fluid all the time. DEF delete my Viking.
So that little 38 Billfish would fit into like the open style Sportfish boat.
That would fit into I think the appropriate name is like the day boat classic boats. It doesn't have. It's an open concept. It might have AC within that little cockpit
But what
area.
would you call one of those little old Bertrams?
The Moppies.
Little Moppy. What would you
a day boat.
That's a little day boat.
For sure.
But
I think the 38's kind of based on something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a stretched out day boat. It's not a boat that you're really doing overnighters on. You don't have a lot of the amenities.
It doesn't have. For example, like a 42 Express Viking, for example, it has has a galley head. It has 2 rooms. The 38 doesn't have any of it.
Viking does.
The 38 does have. It has stateroom in the front, but for the most part, that's a boat to go out for the day, come back. That's about it. It's not a travel boat in any way.
The custom boats too. They have walk around options.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, they have a walk around option.
They're listening to the South Florida guys.
Your production boats, they have expresses. That they don't have an actual fly bridge. It's all included. But the walk around is where some of the custom boat builders exceed that you don't really see in the production side.
Like that Jim Smith. It's on the market now, actually.
That's a pretty boat.
I love that. Love that boat. The yellow one?
Rocket. There's a yellow one. There's a gray one too.
I haven't seen the gray one.
Yeah. There's some
Beautiful.
really pretty
It's the best of both worlds. It's like a huge center console without the outboards.
I mean, you're losing a ton of interior volume, but the boat still is. You could travel, you could fish, you could do everything you need to do from here to the Bahamas and probably everywhere and beyond.
What's your favorite Express? Mine for sure has to be what it's called now, the Yellow Fever.
The old full throttle.
The old full throttle.
I just love how fast it is.
Yeah, that boat's fast.
50
I mean,
knots.
it was scary. We were running a 42 Invincible with quad 400Rs, and we were struggling to keep up to it. And it's just like,
I think flats.
we're getting passed by a
diesel boat.
diesel boat.
with
crazy how
shafts
fast.
too, not even like surface drives.
Yeah,
or
it's
jets.
crazy how
It's like a
fast they
40 knot
advance.
cruise, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Wow.
They stuffed 2600s in there, right?
Yeah. Big MTUs in that
That's
thing.
amazing, dude.
Crazy how fast they get. But I mean, look, that new 72 Viking did what, 40 something?
74,
74 did 40 and change knots.
44.
44 knots.
It's got the same motors as the
Same.
smaller ones.
Well, that's a top motor you can get.
What motors does that giant American have? That 90-foot American?
Oh, they went 12V 4,000 MTUs. But those are
It's a commercial
essentially,
grade motor.
yeah, it's made for like super yachts and big boats. It's just they put a badass gearbox in there that just
Lets them spin up.
That
Love
thing
it.
flies.
Love
It's
it.
a 40 knot 90 footer.
So I mean, like, too, I really don't think so. In my book, like, a sport fish should not really be getting past that 80-foot mark. You know, you lose all the advantages. You're no longer as nimble.
Yeah.
A lot of little things. For that size, I'd rather just have a yacht. And then I would want to go, if I'm truly sport fishing, I love that 60-foot range. You're nimble enough, you're comfortable enough, you can spin on fish, you can back down on fish.
Big enough to travel.
Big enough, yeah, you know.
I agree. Those like trying to spin and back down a 90 Vikings, like a little bit out of control.
There's people that do it. I'm not gonna lie.
When
but
I was in Bermuda, they won the release side.
Look, they get it done. But
Except they blew a motor backing down, but that's here nor there. But
I agree with you, but I would even bring it down more to like that 60, 65 foot. Like I think 80 is too big to actually like fish tournaments.
that's a yacht.
And
That's
fish.
60 to 64 feet, perfect sweet spot.
60,
You can do
yeah.
everything with that boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Once
And-
you jump up past 64, you also like add another stateroom.
Yeah,
Not
it is
bad
nice.
either.
But man, a 65, you can, if you do like a enclosed bridge in that size, you basically get the room upstairs. You can have the day head. It's like a 4-4 layout.
Yeah, it's true.
You got your crew quarter, your master, your VIP.
Enclosed is another animal too.
I love, especially for travel boats that are moving. I'm a huge fanatic.
It's real nice on the crew.
Yeah.
It's nice on the crew.
So these convertible boats, you have an option of having them basically open upstairs, and it's basically enclosed by an isinglass, or you can have it a full enclosed with glass and windshield and
Actual like superstructure.
It's
So,
a room. It's an
it's-
extra room.
You're inside essentially with air conditioning and carpet and a table, and so it's a very different experience than you would get in an open boat. But it's like salt and pepper. I mean, some people
hate them.
people hate it.
Okay, so I will say the older ones are ugly as sin. Now they're getting really pretty.
Oh yeah, the window.
The
lines are
line
done
actually
so much
fits
better.
the boat. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah, it definitely
It's
does.
not
Why do you guys think that pretty much, I would say 90% of these boats are made here in the U.S.? Like aside from,
sport fishing is a world.
It's a worldwide thing.
Kind of topic, kind of sport. But I think it's extremely popular in the American market.
I mean, there's not one builder in Europe that makes these boats. There's Australia, New Zealand, and Costa Rica. I think that's pretty much off the top of my head what I can think of.
And Costa Rica's like a small builder. They don't build anything big.
And then Australia,
pretty.
They are super pretty, but they're not building a big boat.
Maritimo and Riviera are like half. They're like half luxe, half sport fish.
I think Riviera is kind of almost out of the sport fish game. Like they're transitioning more and more to motor yacht every day.
but they still put cockpits on them.
They do, absolutely.
So and outriggers.
Like
Yeah.
what? I mean, Hatteras is building more bigger yacht style boats. You know, now they're.
I think Hatteras just got sick of competing with Viking. They were like, all right,
I mean,
we get it.
Bertram. So to touch back on that, I really think just because we're just big dumb Americans who like, you know, going fast, wasting, you know, diesel, we're gonna chase these. We're trophy hunters. You know, Americans have pioneered trophy hunting. You know, we travel across the world to chase trophies. You know, you don't really see you only really see American programs traveling abroad to chase billfish in these type of boats. You don't see.
It's crazy.
You don't.
Best bill fishing is not even here.
It's not even here.
You grab your American built boat and you travel somewhere else.
Oh, these waters are like depleted already.
We build our American boats.
We're
big bad Americans. We come there and bring freedom to all the oceans.
Bring freedom.
But I mean, it's Americans. I mean, we're a trophy. Like we like hunting, we like our fishing, and we do it to the excess. And you go to these other countries and you're in little 30-foot Pangas or whatever you want to charter, and then here comes the American guy on his 82 Viking at 40 knots. You go to Los Sueños and it's all American boats.
Yeah, of course. It's also the the demographics of
billfish fisheries of all time.
Yeah, but the U.S. still is, I think, the richest country, right? So can't really compare
for sure
the American guy going to Costa Rica with his fishing yacht to the local population that's there.
Yeah, but there is the one guy in Costa Rica who has the money. I mean, that's maybe why they're making the Mavericks there, or an Australian dude, but they're not. Australia actually has a really big sport fishing community, but they're making one-off, their own style, kind of ugly,
and smaller too.
Yeah, you're not seeing the American size boats being built anywhere else.
The sportfish, I guess let's touch on the sportfish market, brokerage market. How do you guys see it this year?
I think it's one of the strongest markets.
They hold their value exceptionally well.
As far as investment goes in boats, it's probably one of the best ones you could make. I know a lot of people that are buying brand new Vikings. It's one of the only boats nowadays that you could sell in a year and borderline break even or not lose a hair. There's just so much demand for them.
Yeah, is there the same demand for the custom boat?
I think there is. I think the newer custom boats are definitely, granted it's so much more expensive to build a custom boat that it's almost impossible to not really lose out on that investment. But I think that's also a different market. You're building that boat for yourself. You're not building it with anybody else in mind. A lot of people build these boats and they want this boat and that's going to ride them 20 years. Like, for example, I know the Big O, for just to name one, I think that guy built that boat in like 2006, 2007. He's still fishing every single season. That boat has traveled the world.
Really?
Every year.
Probably 3 repowers down.
I don't know. I know they just did a refit like a year ago, but they've done Canary Islands. They were in Cabo. They did Mag Bay a bunch of times. I don't know if they did the Azores, but I know they did Madeira, Cape Verde. Like those guys have fished.
I mean, if they went over there, I'm sure.
I also think that
gone everywhere.
The people who build the custom boat, like truly custom to what they want, they hold on to their boats a lot longer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like building an art piece that you want to keep.
Yeah,
not
it's building something
somebody
you
else.
want to keep. Like your production boats, they trade more.
Yeah, of course.
You get Spencers always move. You always see Spencers on the market, but they move quick. It's a
They
custom.
build a lot more of those.
It's a custom boat, but maybe you could call it semi-production custom boat. There's a lot of them on the market. Bayliss only makes what? One boat maybe a year.
I mean, delivers.
Yeah,
delivers.
Sometimes not.
So there's a couple. There's a couple in production at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, you go around. There's a lot of Spencers and Marinas and stuff like that. I think they're built a lot faster than some of these other boats.
Spent a lot of time building Jordan's boat.
Oh, I love that.
Catching up on the rest of the project.
The Viking's like a Rolex. Like you're ever in a pinch, you can sell it. You start talking about some of these custom boats. That's going to be a little bit of a harder of a
It's
sell.
a lot more of a niche market.
Yeah.
Not everybody's looking for a custom boat. So
And
I know a lot of the older customs are, I guess, probably a little bit easier traded because they already depreciated. But I think they get to a point where they plateau, and it's also a safe investment as far as putting your money somewhere.
And these custom, you said like a semi-custom, I guess. There's an overlap, and some of these models got built, not just one of one, but they did like one of 10.
Yeah.
I think some are more of 1 of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw out like a Garlington 61, for example.
There's a
That
few.
used to be a cold molded boat. I think it became so popular, they made a mold out of that thing, and they started manufacturing it in a resin-infused process. So it's a fiberglass boat. It's still custom. You can still build out your interior however you want it. I think you still have options as far as like where you want your salon door. Some of them are offset, some of them are centered.
I like that center door.
The center door is super cool. It's a very Garlington staple.
But it like interrupts your mezzanine, right?
No, not really. You have 2 equal mezzanines on each side
instead of one long one.
But have you been on both? Like the cold molded Garlington and the new one?
I've been on an original, like one. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, the last cold molded Garlington 61 ever. And I have not. I've seen quite a few of the newer ones, but I have not ridden on the newest.
I'd be interested to know how the ride quality changed now that you don't have wood in your core, because wood is so deadening that's why they don't pound at all.
It has such a nice flex.
But
It's like a
these
knife
old
through
school
butter.
guys they swear about a cold molded boat. They say that nothing raises fish like a cold molded boat.
It
Oh, yeah.
resonates different.
They
It's
claim
nice
that
and
they
quiet.
can't hear you coming. That's how quiet
They're
they are.
quiet.
Which makes sense. I mean, you knock on wood, you knock on fiberglass. It's different.
Definitely. But they'll hear, the 4,000 horsepower spinning props in the water on top of it. I guess the other good thing about custom boats is, like with any custom boat, you could essentially get exactly what you want, how you want it. And I know you've seen a couple of these boats inside, like real deep in the bilge there. What have you seen?
Everything's finished. You can't find an unfinished. Everything has a reason behind it. It just wasn't thrown there because that was it. Everything was thoroughly thought out, laid out. Everything drains. Any water runs backwards. Everything gets pumped out. There's no raw fiberglass. Everything is finished.
They kind of, for not exactly, but in a certain way, they almost have certain builders and certain of these custom boats, depending on what the program does. If it's traveling, if the boat's in a different part of the world every year, if it's hopping on the ship, they make them as redundant as possible too. Because this is for lack of a better word, it's a tool, but it's also an owner spent a lot of money, a lot of pride and joy. They work very hard to get something. They don't want downtime. So these boats need to fish. The owner needs to be able to fly in, do whatever he wants to do, and he does not want downtime.
What boat was it that they can do an oil change while running? They just flip a couple valves and they had enough reserve oil. I think it was that. I forgot. I read it in.
I think it was a production boat, actually.
Was it production? I thought it was a custom boat. I read it in Marlin Mag that it was like they fished so much that they could theoretically they had a reserve oil tank that was enough to do one oil change.
Like big boats have them.
Yeah, to do an oil change mid-fishing. Just flip some valves, keep going.
It's incredible.
Yeah, you have a sludge tank and then a clean oil. And
the thing too about, a custom boat versus a production boat, if you have a knowledgeable broker, you can tell him all of your ideas of what you really want to do with it, and he can coordinate it with the builder to say, hey,
just incorporate that.
We're doing A, B, C, and D. My guy needs air conditioning. Like, my big boy does not like being hot. Give me a closed loop system. We're tired of dealing with strainers on the old boats.
One of my favorite clients loves AC.
Yeah.
36,000 BTU in the bridge he's got.
Baby.
You know who you are if you're watching this.
We ain't getting hot. It's stuff like that it's like, hey, the master has a redundant of 2 units just in case you flip the switch, one does go down. It happens. It goes down. I mean, if you have a knowledgeable team behind you,
your possibilities are endless.
Your possibilities are endless, and you can make a gem of a product. When you come back to the production side, like, yes, you have a lot of options, but you have to stay within the mold. You can't tell them to do just a one-off thing because they can't. All those parts are already prefab in a sense. You can't really tell them, I don't like your layout, just make me one. It's like, no, you're bulkheads.
You'll interrupt the.
I mean, they'll incorporate as many custom features as they can, but that's the benefit. And also, you're going to pay for it. That's why you go to a custom
You
builder.
can't interrupt the production line.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are they're building 100 boats a year. They're not going to be like, okay, let's take Chris's boat, put it on the side here because he wants 3 more rooms in this boat somehow.
So
Exactly.
they'll do your custom work as long as you're within the parameters that they give you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like on a Viking, you could grab a stateroom and make it a rod room if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's easy.
Exactly.
It doesn't
you
change
just don't
anything.
put a bed.
But you can't completely reconfigure the layout of the interior.
And on the custom boats, like you were saying, Tiger Woods made a Garlington into a dive boat, which is
Complete dive boat. That's all it does.
That's
It
crazy.
doesn't fish at all. The guy's apparently super into scuba diving, and that's exactly what he built. He's got compressors. He's got everything.
Everything.
You think it's a good platform for a dive boat? Or I think
Scuba diving, you're fine.
You can make it as good as a platform as you want, but as far as, hey, I want to go out when it's rough. I want to be able to cross to the Bahamas. I want to be able to cross anywhere.
You can always do it in a
it's-
sporty.
You can always run.
You can always run, especially if you're in an enclosed bridge. You're not even getting wet.
That is
true.
Who's a better fisherman, Tiger Woods or MJ?
Oh, MJ takes a cake.
MJ
takes a cake.
He
By
just built
far.
his Bayliss.
That guy's a fishy guy.
He loves his tournaments.
He got into it, what, like 10 years ago, right?
Probably.
10 years ago?
And so
It's high stakes gambling, and the guy's known for his gambling.
So he went from a production boat to a custom boat.
He did.
You know, he finally had the time, and you know, it's probably been in the works for the past 5 years. But I would love to see the interior of that boat. It's probably beautiful, and that's another gripe of mine that I have. And you finally like convinced me of it.
What?
You know, a lot of these sport fishing boats, the interiors are not. There's a little bit that lacks. You go into some of these yachts and stuff like that. It's like this interior is spectacular. You go into some sport fishes, it's like this is such an American interior. That's a whole other side note. But if you do a custom boat, you can make it as pretty as you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, all right, you go on some of these production boats, and those are Home Depot fixtures that you can go get there at Home Depot.
remember
Which
like
is interesting. I think it's so funny.
the Hatteras is from like 06, 05. It was literally all like, it looked, I don't know if it was, but it looked just like that light switch there. It was all for, it looked like for houses.
Yeah.
You go to the head, and it's got floor and decor floors in it.
Yeah.
Little laminate.
So I always thought that was pretty funny. And you've kind of told me about that. Now, like, I really look at it, and you see some of these interiors on these boats, and you're just like,
For example, why does a Viking that's $8 million and it's 2024? Why does it have to come with that same bed covering from 2001? It's still the same exact one.
It's also
I never understood, but it's just there. It's there every time. It doesn't
you've
fail.
always said that.
the motor yacht guy always.
So
says
Nah,
that.
it's just like, oh
So,
my god, I just
like-
paid $8 million for this, but look, it looks like it's one of those
So
sticks once you get into the room.
But, you know, they make their own mattresses. Vikings mattresses are specifically made for
Because of
them.
the shape of the bed.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, of course.
I find that it's funny, like these little things you start really going into. Like, I would really love to see an interior designer go in there and really make one of these boats perfect. But then again, we're fishing, so
You need to match the
Nobody
style,
can.
right? It's a fishing boat, so you're not gonna put like a Benetti interior in a fishing boat because it's gonna make no sense. But I think
you're not
Dude,
inside all that much.
but
I think they do need to make a little bit of an effort to make that fishing style, or you know, if it's a custom boat, let the owner
So,
decide
yeah.
how he wants to do it.
how fishy you want to be. What I have always hated, and I've never understood, especially in a fishing boat, why is there carpet? Never understood the carpet. Why is there a runner? Everybody always complains and bitches about their runner. You got to take your shoes off. You spilled wine. The runner's dirty. You got to wash the runner.
In the salon or downstairs?
Everywhere. Just the runners everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
dude, just give me easy stuff to clean. Like, I never
Yeah. understood
why there's carpet in sport fishes. Everybody's fishing. They come inside. You know, I've sailfish. I've done that door is that poor door just gets taxed all day during tournaments. People are in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Then everybody was quiet about the carpet. It's like, why carpet?
It might have something to do with the fact that carpet, you won't slip on it when it's rough out and you're trying to walk somewhere.
Maybe,
If you're trying to walk on this floor in 6-footers, you're gonna fall.
maybe, but you got a seakeeper, so you're good.
It's
Yeah,
true.
30 knots. That
Stabilization.
seakeeper's not doing
So you
it.
get off.
Jumping through 6-footers. But yeah, it's true. There's so many new, even laminate floors you can pour water on, nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
And they're pretty too. They look like wood.
That 61 Express that we were talking, the walk around. Go look at the video of the interior. The interior is just like, now you give me some really nice like wood interior. Like, okay, it's nice, but it's literally just all wood. In fact, I wish they'd spice it up a little bit. But with a custom boat, you can do it any way you
Go
want.
as far as you want.
Do whatever you want.
That's true. What do you guys, when you guys are advising a client, what do you look for? Like, what are the things to look for when you're shopping for a sport fish? Like, what are the most important things that, you know, as far as the history of the boat goes?
And you want to know if the boat was tournament fish.
Yeah.
That's super important. Tournament boats, naturally, I mean, there's a lot of money on the line, so you're running hard. You will have minimal downtime for the most part because it also depends. Like, maybe this guy only fishes South Florida. Okay, so he's got, for the most part, the winter season is what he does. Summer, majority of the time, the boat doesn't get used, goes to the yard. But a lot of these boats transition straight from, you know, the whole live bait sail fishing thing. Then they go to the Bahamas, and from there they go out to the Caribbean and stuff like that. So I guess really use. So, and you can tell a lot of that through the hours. And also style of fishing. I mean, historically down here in the winter, it's really rough.
Yeah,
it's really rough. So that
kite fishing, you're just bumping in and out of gear all day.
And
you're going flying in reverse,
and that puts a lot of stress on your transmission, your
stuff
bearings,
like that.
all that.
I would also takes a toll on it.
I would also look at how open of a checkbook was it for maintenance wise. Did the captain keep a good log? Was I would love it. It doesn't really happen, but I would like to go if I were to buy a boat. I think there's a way to do this. Is like go interview the mate that was running the boat before. Like, let me hear the ins and outs. Let me go talk to that captain. Let me really gauge him for how he manages the boat. Because, and then let me really go through it. Like, yes, there's a survey thing, but like, survey is only going to really come up. It's like, let me really see the wear and tear on this. Let me meet the people that were maintaining it before. You're going to be able to tell. I can tell if you loved your boat if you changed your water maker filters. Like, if your water maker works off rip and it's actually good, it's like, okay, they loved it. Let me see the wax on it. So, like, I want to see who the captain was, what he did. I want to see if the boat was loved. You can tell a lot in the little things, like is the tool chest actually organized or things like that, or there actual spare parts on the boat? Did the person put any thought into maintaining the boat past what the manufacturer recommendation is? And let me see some real results. Let me see your real service logs. Let me see last time the boat was waxed. Like,
look at the bilges.
Look at the bilges.
The transom bilge.
A lot of it also has to do with like the program that the boat was running.
Yeah.
Like, was this a travel boat? Was this just a stationary boat that fished out of one place every year? Those things are huge because you're not going to the same yards. You're not going to the same, technicians to get services and repairs and stuff like that. All that is very, very important. And then also crew's huge. Like, for lack of a better word, the sport fishing world is big, but it's pretty small as far as like professionals, like captains. You got a pretty small pool of them, pretty small pool of mates.
Everybody knows everybody.
And then as far as the sport fishing world goes, turnover in crew is a lot less than when it comes to like your typical motor yacht. You might have 5 stewardesses in 1 year. You might have a fishing mate and the same captain for a 20-year program.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes. And I think a lot of it is because on a motor yacht, you're much more service oriented, right? So maybe it's in a charter program or something like that. So their goal is to just keep guests happy, keep the boat running, and keep the boat operational. In a sportfish program, they're motivated financially. Historically, they get paid a lot more. They get, compensation if depending on how they do in a tournament. Every crew gets split off and stuff like that. So your sportfish crew is extremely, extremely important when it comes to your program and when it comes to the maintenance and longevity of your boat. It's huge.
The crew will make or break your experience. And also, the sportfish crew, the sportfish boat's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
You interact a lot more with your owner and guests and family. Almost everybody at some point becomes family, especially you said it, some captains will be there for 20 years. They watch the kids grow up. They taught the kids how to swim, how to fish, how to dive. They do everything in a sense that it's like they almost become family. And then, like you said it, they're vested in their interest because you're chasing the same goal. You get the mate that wants to be the fish head. You get the captain who wants to chase the billfish around the world.
You're not there for your paycheck.
You're not there for your paycheck.
You're there for the program. You're there to win. You're there to compete.
So essentially, the sportfish crew is more of a personal relationship with the owner and guest than the motor yacht crew.
For sure.
I agree with that.
The motor yacht crew is sometimes the mate won't even talk to the owner ever.
Like, has no interaction, doesn't even know the kid's name other than what they have to do. But what I will say, and I've always thought this was very interesting about the sport fishing crew, there's no certifications. You don't need to do anything. You can just go pick up the guy that's sitting there at Monty's and, hey, you want to work on the boat this week? So I've always found that very weird because
it's reputation based.
It's reputation based, but if you want to go hire an engineer on your yacht, he needs to have qualifications. He needs to have this. He needs to have that. You can just get a captain with a 6-pack and he can run your sportfish. I've always thought that was
the insurance company's not gonna allow that anymore.
Well, okay, not anymore, but mates and sport fishing guys do not have to be as qualified to work as the yacht
That's
crew.
because the boat's under 24 meters, so it doesn't really apply.
Yeah, you're not dealing with class or anything like that.
But still, when you go, if you
you're not dealing with MCA, you're not dealing with class.
If you were to get
a
yacht,
mm-hmm.
in a sense, you're hiring a more trained crew-ish.
Yeah.
I've always thought that was weird. You know, like you can be an engineer on a sport fish, but you didn't do anything for the big boat side. You know what I mean? You didn't have to get any of those. That I've always found as weird.
I think the motor yacht guy's gonna be more demanding on his crew too.
Definitely.
There's so many of them.
This is strictly opinion based,
yeah.
but I think your sportfish crew has more of like a vested interest in the boat itself than your typical motor yacht crew.
Oh, for sure.
They're there to please.
Yeah.
These guys are there to perform. They're there to make money.
I will say,
and they love it. You're not fishing it as a job. You're fishing because you love it. You know,
a sportfish crew on a motor yacht would fail, and a motor yacht crew on a sportfish yacht would fail.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's so the sport fishing is very demanding. Like, okay, yes, we get to fish, yes, we get to drink a couple beers on the way in while we're shamming and whatnot. But those guys woke up at 4 a.m. to rig bait. We ran out 70 miles. We fished all day. Now we had to be back for cocktails and everything by 6 or 7. Boat has to be clean. Bait has to be rigged in the morning. You're asleep and you're back. There's 15, 20-hour days. The yacht crews kind of.
Yachts also have twice as much crew.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is the yacht crew has to live on the boat year round. The yacht crew, if it's a popular charter boat, they won't get off that boat all season.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They'll have a day off a week or whatever it is, but these guys live on that boat in these little rooms. That it's they both have their pros and cons.
I mean, some of these sportfish programs, these guys are living on the boat.
Yeah, they live on the boat for 6 months at a time.
Mostly they get to go home.
Travel
the
boats?
boat's local or
Travel boats, man.
Travel boats
local boats fine, but those travel boat guys, they get taxed.
Yeah, they're out there.
I'll tax your ass. No, but also it's only 2 guys. Most of the time, it's only the captain and the mate, and they have to make the world go round.
Because there's no crew accommodations for more.
Yeah, that's what
you don't fit.
You don't fit.
Yeah, but they should. I don't know, man. They need to figure something out with bunks or something on these 80s and 90s. It takes more than 2 to run a 90.
The 80s and 90s have crew quarters.
It's a four-man bunk.
Like the boat you used to fish on was 65, and it had one.
It had
one crew bed.
The crew quarter was a twin bed, was a bunk bed.
Oh, a bunk.
Captain was in VIP.
But that's not a captain room.
It's not.
It's just the way the program was.
Yeah, it's just the way the program was. But that was hard, a 3-man crew to really, because we would go, fish, drink, entertain, get ready, fish, dive, everything, and then we get back to the dock. Oh no, let's go fish off the beach. It's like what the whole boat needs to get done. So also it's a crew can make or break you, but also from the owner side, don't break your crew, don't run them down.
So when you build a production or custom boat, do they essentially come out the same way, like live wells, outriggers, tower or no tower, whatever the case may be, or is there different equipment, set for different types of fishing one might want to do?
I think it depends on the program of the boat and also kind of where the boat's going to stay and what kind of fishing they're going to do. There's numerous sportfish boats that don't even have a live well, that they're just totally into the dead bait game, or just dredge fishing or lure fishing, and you're just dragging, for lack of a better word. A lot of the South Florida boats, which is a lot of our market, live bait is king. So these things are plumbed everywhere to be able to transport bait, fish as many live baits as you can throughout the course of a tournament weekend.
Have you noticed it's mostly external live wells? Nobody really uses.
Sure.
So they use the center transom one, but it's mostly the.
Yeah, it's all removable stuff. I mean, the boat could go from
cockpit.
fishing a South Florida sailfish season to going to the Dominican Republic or going to the Bahamas, and you transition over to the deadbait fishing and the whole marlin game. So it all really depends, and then the whole tower versus no tower, it also depends on the kind of fishing you're doing.
So you see that up in the north, when you go up to the northeast, you see a lot of boats with no tower.
Correct, because nobody's really up there.
Yeah.
So rough.
They look weird, like they're missing something.
Some of them, I think it's different strokes for different
I
folks.
love that tower when it's a pretty tower, because
Yeah.
then I've seen
There's
some
some
towers
ugly
that are like,
towers.
oh boy,
Yeah.
what is that? It looks like somebody stuck 2 ladders together and stuffs it and put a teeth on.
Shout out to Palm Beach Towers. They took
Yeah,
over.
they do a really good job.
Oh, Viking.
Yeah.
I actually think they announced a new location where they're going to start building towers up north.
Closer to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
instead of bringing the boat down here and fitting it or shipping it up there.
Exactly. Big piece of metal to ship.
Yeah.
But it all depends, honestly, what the fishing program is doing. But I think versatility is huge. You know, I think you could rig one sportfish boat to do numerous types of fishing, and honestly, production and custom alike are pretty
interchangeable.
And also, I think they both do a very good job at covering all their bases to be able to satisfy the needs of each program.
And like you stay within the fishing realm, and what's like, they're very versatile for like a golf program. You know, for long overnights, like a Northeast program. You know, you can't really do that on a center console. You know, you can't go out there and fish the canyons in the center console. Like every now and then you see some crazy guy out there who spends like overnight, but it's mostly a sport fish.
Is also a lot of live baiting. So a lot of those systems for live bait, like, okay, maybe one boat runs live wells, those same exact pumps could transition into, you add your tuna tubes and they're feeding the same exact type of water through that exact.
And now the sonar game has changed it.
You
know, and it was,
who would have thought an 8-inch hole in a boat would have been a normal thing?
Yeah, and now it's even what's actually nice is old boats are retrofitting now. They've figured out how to do it where you can retrofit a lot of the older boats.
It's just such an advantage. I mean,
so,
on some of these big money tournaments, if you don't have a sonar, you're not.
You're not getting in the mix anymore.
Yeah.
But versatility wise, now if you want to start talking about like family, how many people you can store, your entertaining space, they're not as versatile as a motor yacht. You know, the Sportfish does have a basically open bow. Like, yeah, you can put a couple toys, you can put a nice little flats boat, or you can put, a jet ski or two, but there's no seating up there. There's no, Sportfish, you're basically limited to the bridge or the cockpit. That's a limiting factor, especially if you have a big family. You're either inside cockpit or here. You go to a motor yacht, you have a lot of real estate up in the bow.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere is designed to entertain people. Sport fishing boats are mostly laid out towards the fishing side.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, having a sport fish to take your family of 5 or 6 to the Bahamas to not fish, it's really not ideal.
I guess the only other trade-off is you're going to get there faster and a lot more, I guess,
if
ride-wise, more comfortable than in a motor yacht, but it's definitely not.
Yeah,
that's not the set purpose.
I had a client that started with 3 sport fish. He doesn't fish.
Because he just wanted to rip across.
He wanted to get to Stanley in under 7 hours, and the only boat that can provide that was one of those.
Yeah,
it's true.
Because you could do it in a Pershing, but if it gets ugly, if you start catching 5-6 footers, you're gonna slow that boat down.
You'll hear a bunch of creaking and banging. You're not gonna hear that on a sport fish.
You gotta go faster. Get on top of it.
Sketchy.
But now that he moved on to motor yachts because the family was,
it's growing.
You're at the dock at night. You're sitting all the way down. You're sniffing people's generator fumes because you're literally like at water level.
You've got a mezzanine to sit on, and that's about it.
That's it. Sometimes they take the chair off, put a table in, but it's not enough, right, to entertain 5-6 people.
No, for sure.
No.
No, they're purpose-built boats, man. They're built to chase game fish, and that's basically it. I mean,
sport fish.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
That's really all it is.
But nothing looks prettier running with a bow up.
They look so proud.
That's what they're for.
Proud. And
you took some awesome photos. We have them hung in the office.
The way they cut, the way they move. What's the coolest thing about Bermuda is when you had to go through that one cut to come in. There's a long way and there's a short way. And you see these boats really like slaloming through coral heads was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And it was also everybody's trying to be on the pins. Everybody's trying to show off and race. You mess up by 1 inch, you're sinking your boat. I mean, it would go from 40 feet to 2 foot to these coral heads. Oh, but you're watching these boats like they're running.
Like they're running a course. They're maneuverable.
You
drive them like a CC if you want.
And like I have some photos of them where this thing's all the way on its side. It's literally like at 40,
I saw that
30, 40 miles an hour.
We should do a segment one day fishing on a sportfish boat. Show them in real time. It'd be fun.
We have some options.
For sure.
Why don't we do fishing on a sportfish versus fishing on a center console?
I don't want to fish center consoles. Like, honestly.
For the video, Chris.
Okay, all right.
Too many prima donnas.
If I could,
I'm not fishing a center console.
I don't want to.
Not even a 55 Valhalla.
I never want to fish a center console again.
Well, that's gonna be another episode.
I
Other center consoles that
the
are
only
that are
thing
literally
for me,
Sportfish
He owns one.
amenities.
I want to go diving on a center console because that's all you can do. I hate diving off big boats. But if I had the choice to fish, I want to fish a big boat for the rest of my life.
You like smelling that diesel, huh?
You don't. These new ones, you don't smell diesel like this.
Oh yeah,
You
it's
don't.
like it's like
You're
that morning
comfortable.
coffee.
It's wide. The only thing I guess you really can't do is like live bait tuna fish that we do here. But man, there's nothing better than just deep drop it on a big boat as long as the exhaust is blowing the one way, or if you have an exhaust that goes
As
down.
long
Gotta
as.
back
As long as there's nothing worse than having to sit there, press the button, you're smelling exhaust fumes. Now some of them have it that go under, they go out to the side. It's spectacular. But I mean, like, it's so much more comfortable.
For sure. I think that wraps up our Sportfish segment for the day.
Yeah, I think we said what we needed to say, right? There's a lot of opinions in this segment of the yacht market, and people are very proud of their boats.
We're supposed to give you the raw opinion base for lack of a better word. You want to hear what we want to talk about, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys.